Story number 2, we're going to move on to Francisco Alvarado. It's coming out of the Miami Herald. I'm going to read you the headline. I'm going to read you the first couple graphs. I wonder if you could just sort of comment on it. Now, anybody who doesn't know how a condo association works and an umbrella association works, let me just sort of put out the big picture, just so as I read the story, if some of you out there who are listening or watching, you're not really aware of it, it'll give you some context. Generally speaking, when you get into some of these subdivisions, whether it's townhouses, it's condos, it's single-family houses, what will happen is small portions of a large community might be broken up into individual or specific associations. So let's say there's 12 buildings or so. So they might break it out where each or every set of 4 buildings is its own condo association, where that means they get to govern it. And then typically they will put an umbrella association on top of that, where the smaller ones are kind of answer to the bigger ones. So that's the big picture concept. So Francisco, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to read you the headline, and then I'm going to read you the first couple graphs, and I would love you to give some context. So again, Miami Herald headline: after arrest and 300% fee hike, Florida's largest homeowner association gets a new board. And here we go. First couple graphs. The last time the Hammocks, which is the name of the association, the last time the Hammocks held an election for board members, it was a debacle that further alienated homeowners from a tyrannical board of directors that had seized control of the West Kendall subdivision. West Kendall is a suburb of Miami, by the way. Hundreds of residents waiting in line were not allowed to vote because of a bomb threat, which police later said was fake. A protest erupted outside the clubhouse. There were accusations of ballot tampering and bribery. Despite the outrage, the board running the largest homeowner association in Florida was reelected after certifying its own results. The new board then held a secret budget meeting and promptly ordered a 300 to 400% increase in monthly maintenance fees. 10 months later, 2 board members and 2 former board members were charged with stealing $2 million from the Homeowners Association. On Thursday, a sense of serenity returned to the Hammocks Association and a sense of trust. A clean election was held and 7 new board members took office. First order of business discussed at their first meeting, Tuesday, April the 4th, how to get the fiscal books in order and replenish the reserve fund that was plundered. Francisco, is this an anomaly or is this pretty typical? And the fact that this is one of the largest homeowners association, if not the largest in Florida, that's why it's getting headlines. What can you sort of tell us based on the reporting you've done and just what you've seen living here as well as being an investigative journalist?
Okay, so it's not an anomaly by any stretch of the imagination. But I wouldn't say it's typical either. I mean, I think it's a situation, obviously, because, we have so many condo associations, we have so many homeowners associations, that you are going to have these little fiefdoms where little cliques form and they take over the boards and they see they get a hold of these budgets. We're talking, millions of dollars in some cases. And it just becomes a free for all. This is the Hammocks, and it's a big, obviously it is the largest, subdivision, but, there's all these condo buildings, in downtown Miami, Miami Beach, all the coastal cities where you have boards that are dealing with, multi-million-dollar assessments. There's a association, here in the Upper East Side, Miami's Upper East Side. I forget the name right now at the top of my head, but they're looking at, where the homeowners, the condo owners are looking at anywhere from, 5 figures to 6 figures in assessment to, so they can be certified, get the 40-year certification. And a lot of it, is, this is a association that is tied up in litigation with home, property owners and the condo board. So I think that, what you're seeing with the Hammocks, though, is definitely because, the size of it, the amount of money involved. It definitely makes for a splashy headline, and a great press conference for the state attorney. I think that, this is not the first one that we're going to see. I think there's more coming down the pike for sure.
And Francisco, if I could just follow up, there was a tower that collapsed that made international headlines because close to 100 people were killed. Ultimately, there was a $1 billion settlement that was paid out. This is a tower called the Champagne Tower South. It's located in Surfside, just north of Miami Beach boundary, if you will. And as a result, legislation has changed in the state of Florida. A lot of condo associations are no longer able to kick the can and not do the necessary work that they used to do previously because they don't want to hit their residents with special assessments. I just wonder now that the light has been turned on in terms of the legislation requiring work to be done. Do you think the roaches are going to be scurrying in and around the kitchen, or do you think that we're going to ultimately figure out that we got a clean cupboard and a clean kitchen, and there's really nothing to worry about as it pertains to these associations and some of the assessments and what they have been and have not been doing?
Oh no, you're definitely going to see a lot, like a lot of cockroaches just scurrying in the kitchen, the living room, the bathrooms, the bedrooms. They're going to be crawling all over the walls. Again, I mean, it's not it's not something I would say like, it's typical, but it's definitely, there's again, because, I mean, there hasn't really been any real oversight of these condo associations for decades. And it's only been in recent years that, there's attention that's being drawn to it. And even so, I mean, like, even when, home, property owners, condo owners, make complaints to the Department of Business and Professional Regulation, a lot of times these investigations, don't really, result in anything other than, a letter from the Department of, Professional Regulation saying, hey, you're doing things wrong. You need to, clean up your act. But I mean, unfortunately, it's, you can't legislate ethics. So if you don't have people, if you don't have people that have good ethics, they're just gonna they're gonna treat it like their own piggy bank. I mean, I think that goes for, and obviously, I mean, like, it goes for like, whether you live in the, whether you live in a, luxury high rise in downtown Miami, or if you live in a subdivision in out in Kendall.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's funny. In our last, one of our previous podcasts, one of the reporters called us a godless place. So I think that sort of fits into some of the references Francisco was saying.